Imagine a world where laughter, heartbreak, resilience, and tragedy are all stitched together so tightly that you cannot pull one thread without unraveling the entire tapestry. Now, what if you realized that at the very center of it all, buried under history books and forgotten headlines, there's a disease you thought humanity had long since conquered? Tuberculosis? It sounds impossible, almost absurd. Yet John Green, in Everything is Tuberculosis, shows us just how deeply illness, injustice, love, and survival intertwine, and why understanding them matters more than ever today. Introduction. Everything is Tuberculosis is not just another book about disease. It is a work of breathtaking vulnerability, combining memoir, historical analysis, personal reflection, and public health critique. John Green, the celebrated author of The Fault in Our Stars and Turtles All the Way Down, steps away from fiction to create something raw and profoundly human. This book invites readers to confront uncomfortable truths about illness, about mortality, about systemic failure, and about the ways we find meaning anyway. Why summarize this book? Because it offers a lens through which we can better understand not just tuberculosis, but ourselves, our fears, our hopes, and the fragile, beautiful interconnectedness of our lives. 1. Tuberculosis is not just a disease of the past. Many of us grew up believing that tuberculosis was a problem safely contained in the pages of Victorian novels. John Green dismantles this myth with startling clarity. Tuberculosis remains one of the deadliest infectious diseases in the modern world. Each year, over 1 million lives are lost, many of them preventable. The real tragedy is not the persistence of the disease itself, but our collective willingness to look away. Green makes it clear, forgetting tuberculosis is a luxury afforded only to those whose lives are untouched by systemic inequality. For millions, the battle continues quietly, invisibly, relentlessly. 2. Health is personal and political. Through his own experiences with chronic illness, Green draws an unflinching connection between personal health and public policy. Good health is not merely the result of good choices. It is shaped by access to care, socioeconomic structures, and the values of the societies we live in. When public health systems are neglected, whether for tuberculosis, mental health, or any other condition, individuals pay the price, often in silence. Green challenges the comforting myth of rugged individualism. In reality, survival is communal, and when a society abandons the vulnerable, it wounds itself. 3. Grief is not a phase. It is a place. Throughout the book, Green speaks candidly about grief, not as a hurdle to overcome, but as a companion we must learn to live with. Loss does not pass cleanly through neatly ordered stages. It lingers. It reshapes the landscape of our lives. By studying diseases like tuberculosis, illnesses that linger, mutate, and return, Green suggests we might better understand how to coexist with sorrow rather than wishing it away. Grief, like TB, is persistent, but it can also be a testament to love, a quiet monument to connection. 4. Stories are how we endure. Green reminds us that stories are not just entertainment. They're survival tools. In the face of disease, oppression, and grief, storytelling allows us to weave coherence from chaos. It helps us remember that even in suffering, there is dignity. Even in despair, there is meaning. The power of narrative, Green argues, is not to erase pain, but to give it shape. A story shared becomes a burden lightened. When we listen to each other's stories, we engage in an act of radical empathy, one that defies isolation. 5. Hope and suffering are not opposites. In a culture obsessed with silver linings and relentless positivity, Green's message is a quiet revolution. True hope, he says, is not about pretending pain does not exist. It is about confronting pain honestly and still choosing to move forward. Hope is not the denial of suffering. It is the companion of suffering. The most courageous thing we can do is to acknowledge both the beauty and the brokenness of life and live with our hearts open anyway. 6. Human connection is the most powerful medicine. Throughout the book, one truth surfaces again and again. It is not medicine alone that heals us. It is the presence of others. Tuberculosis spreads through human connection. But so does love, resilience, and recovery. Isolation magnifies suffering. Connection transforms it. A friend sitting beside a hospital bed, a hand held during grief, a shared story across a dinner table. These are the small miracles that save us. In the end, what sustains us is not our strength, but our willingness to reach for one another, even in the darkness. 7. Public health is a matter of justice, not charity. Green challenges the idea that helping others is an act of generosity. It is not charity to fight tuberculosis. It is justice. Healthcare is not a privilege bestowed upon the deserving. It is a right inseparable from human dignity. Framing global health crises as opportunities for benevolence ignores the deeper, uncomfortable truth. Many of these crises are perpetuated by choices we collectively make through inaction, apathy, or misdirected priorities. Compassion is not optional. It is essential. 8. Vulnerability is universal. No one is invincible. Wealth, status, careful planning. None of it can shield us completely from disease, from loss, from the randomness of fate. Understanding tuberculosis means understanding that fragility is not a weakness. It is a fundamental part of what it means to be alive. Accepting our vulnerability can make us more compassionate, less judgmental, and more fiercely protective of one another. 9. Small actions create ripples. The scale of suffering in the world can feel paralyzing. But Green urges us to resist the temptation to despair. A single donation, a conversation about public health, an act of kindness towards someone struggling. These small acts matter. They accumulate. They ripple outward in ways we cannot always see. Hope is built not in grand gestures, but in quiet persistence. 10. Life is risk. And that is why it is beautiful ultimately. Green leaves us with a simple, devastating truth. To live is to risk. To love is to risk heartbreak. To hope is to risk disappointment. To breathe is to risk falling ill. Yet it is precisely because life is so precarious, so unpredictable, that it becomes precious. Choosing to live fully despite everything is the most profound act of courage we can perform. In every moment of laughter, connection, creation, and compassion, we defy the darkness. Conclusion. Why you should read Everything Is Tuberculosis, Everything Is Tuberculosis is not merely a book about a disease. It is a meditation on being human. It is about how we grieve without being consumed, how we hope without turning away from pain, how we survive, not alone but together. John Green's writing is piercing, tender, and urgently necessary. He does not offer false comfort or easy solutions. Instead, he invites us to sit with complexity and to find in it a deeper, more resilient kind of hope. This book will break your heart. It will mend it too, not by erasing what is broken, but by showing you how to carry it more gently. If this summary has moved you, imagine the depth and beauty waiting for you in the full book. Pick up a copy of Everything Is Tuberculosis and let John Green's words challenge and comfort you in equal measure. And if you believe, as I do, that books have the power to change the way we see ourselves and each other. I invite you to subscribe to AudioBookCAPS. Together, we can continue exploring the stories that shape us, the voices that lift us, and the ideas that make life, even in its most fragile moments, worth living. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and never stop seeking the light.